At a depth of 3,000 feet, which is about 914 meters, 76% of marine life produces its own light, not just a few species, not a single evolutionary line. At least 27 completely different evolutionary lineages have independently found the exact same solution. This is bioluminescence, and this is what evolution has actually done with it. You are currently sitting about 3 miles, or about 4.8 kilometers, above one of the largest habitats on Earth. At a depth of 1,000 feet, which is about 305 meters, sunlight disappears entirely. It does not just fade away, it completely vanishes. At that point, not a single photon from the surface would reach your eyes if you were there. At a depth of 3,000 feet, or about 914 meters, in the area known as the midnight zone, the pressure reaches 90 atmospheres. The temperature remains steady at 35 to 39 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. Food is measured in fractions of an ounce per cubic yard, or grams per cubic meter of water. This is the largest habitat on the planet by volume, and 76% of the creatures living here are glowing in total darkness. Below 3,000 feet, which is about 914 meters, the rules of visibility no longer exist. Yet, something in this zone continues to create light. Here is what most people believe about bioluminescence. They think it is a rare adaptation, a freak of nature, something that a small, unusual group of species developed to survive. The data does not support this. Bioluminescence has been recorded in over 700 genera of marine organisms. It appears in bacteria, in dinoflagellates, in jellyfish, in worms, in crustaceans, in squid, and in fish. None of these groups are closely related to each other in terms of evolution. They do not share a recent common ancestor. They do not share the genes that create light. In fish alone, bioluminescence has evolved independently at least 27 times, and that number does not even include invertebrates. 27 distinct evolutionary lineages. The exact same chemical solution. The exact same result. The data does not support the idea that bioluminescence is an exception. The data shows that it is the expected outcome. The female anglerfish carries a structure growing out of its head called an esca. This structure hangs in front of its mouth and glows continuously in the dark. But the anglerfish does not produce that light itself. Inside the esca are bioluminescent bacteria. Billions of symbiotic bacteria live there, glowing on behalf of the fish. The anglerfish did not evolve the ability to glow. It evolved the ability to host something that glows for it. This has been fully documented. The fish does not create the light, it farms it. The Wattlesenia scintillans, also known as the firefly squid, lives at depths of 1,000 to 2,000 feet, which is about 305 to 610 meters during the day. At night, it rises closer to the surface. On its belly are thousands of light-producing organs called photophores, all pointing downward. Their function is counter-illumination. They emit a light that perfectly matches the dim light shining down from the surface, completely erasing the squid's shadow from the view of predators lurking below. This exact same mechanism has been found independently in the hatchetfish, in krill, and in at least 12 other species that have no evolutionary relationship with one another. Evolution has arrived at this solution over and over again, in species separated by hundreds of millions of years of divergence. Most deep-sea creatures can only see blue light, as this is the only wavelength that travels well at great depths. Aristostomias, a type of dragonfish living at a depth of 5,000 feet, or about 1,524 meters, emits a red light. Red light is a wavelength that almost all of its prey simply cannot see. The dragonfish can see red. Its prey cannot. What has been documented is this. An animal has evolved a private communication channel operating on a frequency to which 99% of the creatures around it are completely blind. Praia dubia is not a single organism. It is a colony of thousands of specialized individuals, called zooids, acting as one single body. The entire colony can grow up to 130 feet long, which is about 40 meters. When touched, a wave of light travels along that entire length, from one end to the other, in just a few seconds. This is the largest bioluminescent creature ever recorded. The exact function of that light, whether for defense, attracting prey, or something else, is still being evaluated. 4 species, 4 unrelated evolutionary lines, 4 completely different functions. But they all use the exact same basic chemical reaction. Luciferin reacts with oxygen, catalyzed by luciferase, to produce light. The question is not why one species does this. The question is why evolution keeps coming back to this solution. In complete darkness, where light should not mean anything at all, the answer lies in the nature of darkness itself. In a well-lit environment, a light signal has to compete with countless other light sources. It gets lost in the background. At a depth of 3,000 feet, which is about 914 meters, there is absolutely no optical background noise. Any photon that appears is information. That turns light into an absolute weapon, and when one species develops that weapon, it kicks off an arms race. Species A develops photophores as a lure. The prey evolves the ability to recognize that light pattern and avoid it. Species A evolves a new pattern or a new frequency. The prey adapts again. This cycle repeats for millions of years. In total darkness, light is not just an advantage, it is a war, and evolution simply keeps joining the fight. The consequences of this war have been recorded on multiple levels. Many deep-sea fish have evolved eyes with massive pupils and an unusually high density of rod cells on their retinas. These eyes were not built to see the surrounding environment. They were built to detect signals. Some species can detect a single, solitary photon. At the level of species recognition, some dragonfish recognize their own kind through flashing light patterns, much like a fingerprint. Different species of aristostomias have different patterns. Mating only occurs when the patterns match. In an environment where visibility is measured in inches, which is about centimeters, light has become the primary identification system. At the ecosystem level, when colonies of dinoflagellates, which are single-celled bioluminescent microalgae, break apart in massive numbers, they create a phenomenon known as a milky sea, a continuously glowing body of water spanning hundreds of square miles, or about thousands of square kilometers. This phenomenon has been captured by satellites. It has been reported by sailors for centuries. Its consequences at the ecosystem level are still being measured today. The number 27 might be wrong. 27 is the number of times bioluminescence has independently evolved in fish, as recorded up to this point. Humanity has systematically surveyed about 20% of the ocean floor. The remaining 80% is not fully documented. The actual number of evolutionary events could be significantly higher. Right now, the exact number is unknown. There is a second problem with what we are measuring. Some organisms at depths of 6,000 feet, which is about 1,829 meters, and below, emit light in the extreme ultraviolet and near-infrared frequency bands. These are wavelengths that fall outside the visible spectrum for humans and beyond the range of most current remotely operated vehicle equipment. What is being created in the dark, at frequencies we cannot measure, is currently unrecorded. But there is another issue that remains unclassified. At depths over 30,000 feet, or about 9,144 meters, in the Hadal zone, where pressure exceeds 1,000 atmospheres, some species have been discovered with functional photophore structures. They are producing light. However, no other species recorded at that same depth has visual organs sensitive enough to perceive that light. They are glowing in complete darkness, for an audience that does not exist in any of the data we currently have. Why evolution is producing unreceived light at a depth of 30,000 feet, which is about 9,144 meters, remains an open file. Evolution has found its way to bioluminescence independently, through at least 27 recorded evolutionary lines. in an environment where light technically does not exist. Each time, the chemical solution is almost identical. Each time, the function is different. This pattern has been documented. The reason why it keeps repeating has not yet been fully established. File under Evolutionary Anomalies. Next file, what the vampire squid actually is, below 3,000 feet.